Hey everybody, this is Jerichos, and welcome to another One Shot Saturday. Today I'm doing something a little different. I'm playing Kirby Superstar Ultra, the DS remake of the game I played last week. It's very similar, in fact in a lot of ways it's the exact same game, but I'm playing a brand new mode they added. Yes, that's right. I'm playing Meta Nightmare Ultra. That cool knight's reappeared. Defeat foes to store power, then touch the screen to use abilities. He trains as he journeys. You play as Meta Knight. It actually goes back through the stages from Spring Breeze, Dynablade, Great Cave Offensive, stuff like that, and you get to basically replay them as Meta Knight with some very special abilities. It's not quite the same gameplay, but it's very similar. It's kind of like playing through with the permanent sword power-up and slightly different moving. As it says, you KO foes to store up your power, you can see on the bottom screen, and you touch the various icons to, say, damage all foes, recover health, increase your speed, or call an ally to fight by your side. So, we jump right in, and I love the same happy, cheery music here. Right off the bat, we had enough points, we called a Blade Knight. That is always going to be your ally in this. Luckily, it only costs 2 power to summon him in. So, say for some reason he dies, it takes pretty much nothing to bring him back. Another thing that's a little different about this episode, besides the fact that I'm doing this with, some different editing, a new thing I'm trying, I'm actually recording all this commentary in post. Yep, when I played through, I wasn't able to record live commentary as I played, so all this talking's being done after the fact. I think it'll still work out pretty well. Personally, I find it funny because as you play through each mode of the game, it has a difficulty rating to say, this one's going to be a little harder than the next. And honestly, this one ranked at pretty high difficulty. It's really easy considering his abilities. I mean, look at this, we're already at the end of the first part of Spring Breeze. We're fighting Wispy Woods. Nothing happened here, we just keep swinging our swords. He would have died even faster if the ally had decided to attack a little more, but you know what? Take what we can get. We'll actually see another ability in a little bit here. For now, we're just kind of going through the caves, taking a decent amount of damage from that ice guy. Another thing is, the food system and the whole sharing is still present in this game. And here we get, pretty sure, it's around here somewhere. I forget exactly where. We should, yes, heal! It not only heals you, it heals your ally too. Not bad for 10 points of power. And as you'll see, you can only hold on to 50 points at a time, so you can't stockpile hundreds of points and just spam Mach Tornado or something like that. Yeah, I do also love that when you grab a Warp Star, instead of simply riding on it, it gives Meta Knight the power to simply fly of his own power. Meta Knight is kind of a badass. Now here, we've got these enemies. Let's just use a Mach Tornado and hopefully do a little bit of damage to them. At least that was my thinking when I first used it. It instantly destroyed them. Mach Tornado will kill just about any enemy, even most bosses, in one use. Which is why you can't just use it non-stop. That's why they made it cost 30. So we're already halfway through Spring Breeze. And did a little bit of healing there. We'll show off Meta quick soon enough. It's kind of nice because it just helps you traverse the land, but honestly, I would sometimes find it a little bit more of a hassle than a help because you're moving so fast you don't have the precise control that you usually do. And Krako's first form, already defeated. My biggest thing with this mode is I would actually forget about the abilities. I mean, you'll see there will be several points here where I'll be going through with just 49, 50 points and not use them because I don't even think about it. But, I guess that's a sign that the game's probably the right difficulty level. It's not too hard, not too easy. It's meant to be fun. And we're at Krakow. This guy is usually kind of a pain unless you have something like laser, which of course he gives you if you're playing as Kirby. But instead we decide, let's just mock tornado him and kill him off. I could have done that from the start, but I forgot about it. And he's gone. We're flying into DDD's fortress for a really, really long stage. Kidding. Yep, once again, you just walk through the door and you're right there. I realized in the previous game, the whole point of those enemies outside and wandering around is so you can kind of pick and choose your power for what you want to do to fight against DDD. But we don't really need that here. All we need is the points. And... ooh, my ally is defeated. I could have summoned another one, but yeah, he was dead. We call him in for the very end. I love DDD's face. And instead of blasting DDD away, Meta Knight's like, I'm done with this. That was one cool thing about the DS remake is you got special cutscenes added in. And as you can see, there are 5 stages, one for each main mode of gameplay. There's Spring Breeze, Dynablade, Great Cave Offensive, Revenge of Meta Knight, and Milky Way Wishes. They're all based on Kirby games that you already have in this pack, but they're a little different when you play as Meta Knight. I also always love that this, started off with kind of a throwback to Mario Bros. 2. At least that's how it felt to me. In Dynablade, you are actually going through several stages trying to stop a giant bird who is wreaking havoc. And the cool thing is, a lot of times with the Kirby games, they'll make throwbacks to their older games and later entries. So if you played some later games of Kirby, you've probably seen Dynablade, didn't even know where he came from. Oh, and ran right into him. So you see there, we're using Meta Quick. He's kind of flashing, he's moving even faster. It's really good for when you just want to get through a level and don't really care about exploring or killing every enemy. It does wear off kind of fast, though. It's not a long-term boost, so that's why I don't really use it a whole lot. But every now and then, if you just want to move on a little bit quicker, it can be helpful. Oh, that hurt. Yeah, seriously, this mode is really super easy considering you can build up so many points, and 10 points will just completely heal you and your ally. Like, there we go. If you ever see me randomly pause, it's usually because I'm trying to bring the stylus over to hit that correct ability. And we just left the ally behind, he teleports to us. That was a little annoying because here we go, trying to fly up and he hangs on and suddenly we're flying much more slowly. It's really funny because Meta Knight is so powerful, most of these bosses and mini-bosses are just a joke. I'm not complaining. It's more funny than anything, but it's just amusing to go in and suddenly decide, this guy's gonna be a little bit hot. Oh, before I even finished the thought, he's dead. And right off the bat, didn't need to go through that door, but why not? We'll fight some of these Meta Knights. Yep, they're actually Meta Knights minions, subordinates, whatever you want to call them. You actually encounter them a little bit more in the story where Kirby's actually going up against Meta Knight. It's kind of cool. There's a decent amount of story. It's not a lot, but, a little bit here and there. I remember this being a pain when I played it as Kirby, because I actually wound up going in there without a power-up, and as a result you have to use just the suction and the shooting to make it through. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong, you get power-ups from the enemies once they're in there, but it starts off a little rough. One very nice thing about Meta Knight is, with Kirby, whenever you're flying, if you want to attack, you have to first puff out the breath of air before you can use his weapon or suction. Meta Knight doesn't puff in air, so he's always using his sword. much easier to attack from flying. And as you can see, we're just barreling through. Don't even care. Take damage? Who cares? Run as quick as you can, Meta Knight. Get to the end of that stage. Dynablade was one of those where it's kind of, it's basically the first game, Spring Breeze. Again, just new stages, some new enemies, and new layouts. Plus, a few little hidden secrets to find if you approach them with the right power-up, like having Mallet there where that post was. You can knock it into the ground. But it didn't do a whole lot to change it. The next stage, which we'll see rehashed in just a minute, did a lot different and is probably one of the most interesting aspects of this whole game. But we'll talk about that when we actually get to it. Yeah, go for it, Meta Knight. I like this because, the wind is specifically meant to be a hindrance. You can't really go back easily. But with Meta Knight, you're just charging forward the whole time anyway, so who cares? Ooh, we took a lot of damage there. Yo-yo. One of my absolute favorite abilities is Kirby. Completely useless here. I feel like, I'm running out of interesting things to say, but... Well, I guess I'll add one thing here, because this flapping reminds me. Meta Knight's flying definitely is a little different from Kirby's. It's faster, it's not quite as floaty. It's very similar to, for example, when Kirby has the fly power-up. It's not quite the same, because even that, again, is still a little floatier. He's more precise with his movements in the air, and I like that. Makes him very easy to control. And... ow. I thought that was about to happen. But hey, we burst through, killing everything in our path. A lot of times I'm not a big fan on handheld remakes of older generation games, but then again, typically that was something like a Super Nintendo game got remade on the Game Boy Advance, or an N64 game got remade on the Nintendo DS, and I'm barely having trouble getting through that door. But in this game, this was on the Super Nintendo, remade essentially 2 generations later. So they could do a lot with the graphics, the sound. The biggest problem with Game Boy Advance remakes is there's usually a sound loss from the Super Nintendo version. Not so with this game. The sound is just as good, if not better, to be honest. And I kind of love it because the sound in this game is one of the best things about it. It's so cute, it's fun, and in the case of Gourmet Race, it's kind of intense. Now, here's a little tricky area. We've got all this water flowing, but if you destroy this with one of the bombs, it'll actually turn it to lava. But, I think this is the lava part. Nope, I was wrong. That's another part. Oh, I love this. He actually used his sword to light the fuse. Kind of a pointless area to go to, but hey, a 1-up, some health. I think that was some eggs just floating in midair. Now here's the area where these will start turning into lava once you start blowing them up. But you kind of have to do it to progress. Just try not to fall on the lava yourself like I did there. It's kind of the chain reaction that forms, creating this path. And it loops around. I could have grabbed the 1-up, but again, who cares? One funny thing is the nice touches they do. If you watch the bottom screen where it says Meta Knight and Blade Knight, if one of them gets hit, it actually changes to ouch. Or if they die, it'll say, like, I'm done for, or something like that. It's a nice little touch. You don't really notice. It's not super obtrusive, but it's one of those things that just, it shows they put some time into it. It's marks like that that really make you realize how much they cared about the game. And here we've got a mini boss rush before the final boss. Come on. And now we got 2, the Bomb Brothers. but they are super easy. They will drop in no time. And yet we took a disturbingly large amount of damage from them. But hey, look at that, 45 points. We're still at practically max. So, some other bosses here. What's really interesting is in the, Kirby side of things, all these bosses have unique power-ups, whether it's the bomb we've already encountered or sumo. It does a lot interesting and makes it so it's not just a boss, it's also an opportunity for power. And we're reaching the final section here, climbing up. Can heal up a little bit. We could use, our points, but why bother when there's free food? And fly onward, Meta Knight, fly into the sky. We must take on Dynablade. Yeah, here he comes. This guy is a real pain to fight as Kirby if you don't have the right ability. I remember going into this with, I'm pretty sure I had Rock, which was completely worthless. Ended up sacrificing my ally, who I think was Cutter. Not the most useful, but hey, as you can see, Meta Knight's just so powerful he doesn't need any of that. And another happy little ending. Dynablade's little, kids flying along, and Dynablade's okay. He was just trying to protect his kids, but now that everything's worked out, he's flying off peacefully into the sunset. So cute. And Meta Knight is heading off to another adventure. So that one took a little longer, which makes sense. It's a slightly bigger adventure. Now we're going into Meta Knight's version of the Great Cave Offensive. If you've never played Kirby Superstar, you'll probably mostly recognize that name from Smash Bros. For Wii U. Yep, so that giant Kirby stage is based off this. It is a huge maze filled with treasures. There are 4 main areas that you go through, each one themed, and there are treasures to find throughout the whole cave hidden in chests. You'll see where that hot dog is right there. There used to be a treasure chest for Kirby. You have to find 60 of them to complete the entire Great Cave. It is a very elaborate setup. The first 2 sections are pretty easy to find everything. The third one is just a pain because it's a proper maze. It's very confusing with which doors lead where. You're traversing through a tower that has a whole bunch of different, very similar looking pathways. And the final one is honestly, it's mostly tough just because it's tricky. It's very interesting how they hide the pathways, where the treasure chests are hidden. You'll a lot of times know exactly where to go, but getting there is a matter of a bit of mechanics. And I think that is one of the best things to do, because they'll make it so you know instinctively what to do, and you just have to use your skills to achieve it. And I don't think I was supposed to go down this way. Nope. Again, treasure chest hidden down there in Kirby's version, but now just a bunch of Gordos getting in our way. And I don't know what the name of those things are that look like Easter Island heads that spin around, but they always remind me of the old Arkanoid or Breakout games from Super Nintendo. Because I know that was a big boss you ended up fighting up there that was shaped like one of those. Who knows, maybe there was some connection there, I'm not really sure. Here's another mechanic you can see where we're making that ice cream drop. That was another treasure chest, where you have to kind of maneuver the environment to collect them. It's so much fun. And we've reached the end of the first section of the Great Cave Offensive. A giant whale, I think? It's hard to tell what he is, but he's got a pipe and he looks, well, jolly as can be. This guy is another really annoying boss when it comes to Kirby because he just can hurt you so much. It's not too bad going in with Meta Knight because you can heal up, but honestly with Kirby, especially if you take a hit and lose your power-up, it can be incredibly hard to recover from it. But as you can see, we had no trouble here. Charge onward. And a fun thing about the Great Cave Offensive is every time you finish a section, you get to ride a minecart onto the next area. And it's basically just a fun little cinematic journey. Every enemy in your way gets obliterated. It's just a cute little thing to do. I love Meta Knight's kind of like hunched up, like, I'm so serious hiding in this cart. And now in the Crystal Cave area, you'll actually find a lot more water sections in here. And there's a whole other bunch of doors with different pathways to go through in Kirby's section, so you have lots of different branching options. They all, except for this door, they all eventually lead back to that central room. And the nice thing is there's usually one central save point in each area. So if you really just tired, need a break, they at least let you save your progress. But we're already done with the second section, and this time, what are we fighting? We're fighting the virus. It's basically an RPG battle. It's so hilarious to me. You see the enemy's HP in a number, as well as his health bar. It gives the messages, takes damage, attacks us, Meta Knight took damage. There's so much heart put into this boss fight, and I love it. It'd go by a little faster if my ally would attack a little more, but, Actually, I'd say that, but I don't think it would. I'm pretty sure the enemies have a cap on how much damage they can take each round. Because when I was playing with Kirby, I was pretty sure a lot of times either 30, 50, or 60 damage would end up being the most I could do, and he would go back. Sometimes I would do that damage over a longer time, sometimes over a lesser time, and he always went back at that amount of damage. Oh, come on, he's almost gone. I actually can't remember if I used Mock Tornado on the final one, but I think that would be funny to see. Also, I love that, you use heal and it actually says restored health. Oh, right, no, the wizard was the final one. You gain experience, not that it matters. And then all these random stats go up. They don't mean anything, but it's just a wonderful throwback to the RPGs of old. Your heroism went up by 2, charisma, and leadership. It's so cute. But we're halfway through the Great Cave Offensive. I am so glad that in Meta Knight's story, we don't have to explore and navigate the third one the way we do for Kirby to find everything. It was, it was fun at first, but it got old quick. Yep, you see we got a giant tower and 2 blocked off entrances. We don't even enter the tower. So I was like, okay, we just completely skip the third section? Not exactly. We're going to progress on to the final part of the third section, where we actually do have a boss fight. It's nothing too hard, as I'm sure you've already figured out, but it is, well, it's at least something. So, here's the remaining part of that. And we drop down. Actually, the more I'm thinking about it, I think this may have been the 4th section. It's hard to remember, but yeah, I think this was actually the 4th section. We didn't actually fight a boss in the tower. Huh. Again, lots of sections that you have to do a whole bunch of weird things with Kirby, but in the end, Meta Knight doesn't really have to bother with it. Oh, springs. See, this is a fun thing because it's not really something that hurts you, well, except for that guy, but it still does some interesting things. And here we have the boss of the Great Cave. And he smacks right down on me. This is probably the only enemy I've encountered thus far that a Mock Tornado will not kill him in one hit. It still does a ridiculous amount of damage to him. You can see, only a couple more hits and he's dead. In fact, one more should do it! Seriously, Nintendo with, your obsession with giant faces and disembodied hands between Star Fox and Mario and other games like that, it's kind of hilarious. Of course, it makes sense. They can do a whole lot with that. And actually, now that I think about it, Ocarina of Time, the Spirit Temple boss, or is that Shadow Temple? No, Shadow Temple boss was another thing with the body or head disembodied from the hands fighting on their own. So now that we've gone through the entire Great Cave Offensive, we ride some elevators back up to the top, and we're back where we began. I always thought when Kirby came back up he would put the treasures on these pedestals, but he didn't. And we've survived. Bust out of here. Again, Meta Knight's such a badass. And that finishes up the third section. That's all I'm going to show for this. There's still the Revenge of Meta Knight and the Milky Way Wishes, which are a lot of fun but not really seen. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, please click like and subscribe, and feel free to follow me on Twitter. I'll see you guys next time.